Welcome back to Rapture Tales. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and get ready for another story you won't forget. Let's dive back to the story. Eleanor Brooks was the kind of woman people admired from afar, brilliant, disciplined, elegant, and one of the youngest architects to redesign major commercial buildings in London during a charity fundraiser in Kensington. She met James Whitmore, the charming son of a wealthy hotel magnate. Their chemistry was instant. James was captivated by her confidence, while Eleanor found comfort in his warmth and confidence. Within months of dating, their love felt unshakable, the kind that turned heads and inspired envy. Their friends believed they were destined for a fairy tale future, and for a while, it truly seemed so. After their luxurious wedding, their lives flowed with passion and dreams. Eleanor continued designing her landmark projects, and James rose quickly in hotel management. Their daughter, little Amelia, was the unexpected joy that completed their world. Eleanor felt blessed, certain that her future was secure with the man she chose. But underneath the glamour and happiness, small cracks were beginning to form, cracks she was too in love to notice. As James's ambition intensified, so did the emotional distance between them. He spent long nights at the hotel, insisting he was building the future, while Eleanor faced pregnancy struggles alone. The man who used to bring her roses now barely remembered their dates. Eleanor tried to hide her hurt, telling herself it was temporary, that the stress of his job was getting to him. But his silence grew louder with each passing week. When Amelia was born, Eleanor's world lit up with new purpose, but James's attention drifted further. He congratulated her politely, kissed her forehead, and left the hospital early for a meeting. Eleanor stayed awake that night, breastfeeding their newborn, tears sliding down her cheeks as she stared at the empty chair where James should have been. Motherhood became both her comfort and her burden. Eleanor juggled her architecture firm and sleepless nights, while James wrapped himself in fame and praise. His hotel was winning awards, and newspapers celebrated him as London's rising star. Eleanor's accomplishments faded in his shadow, and he didn't seem to mind. Whenever she asked for help or comfort, he accused her of nagging and jealousy. Eleanor's loneliness grew so heavy that even her friends noticed the glow leaving her eyes. Sophie Turner, her best friend, urged her to speak up, to fight for her marriage. But Eleanor was too afraid of losing everything she built. She kept believing James would return to her emotionally, until one night she overheard him telling a colleague that he couldn't deal with Eleanor's clinginess anymore. Her heart cracked quietly. Eleanor's accident happened on a rainy Thursday evening. She was driving back from work when a lorry skidded across the road. In seconds, her world flipped, metal crushing, glass shattering, pain swallowing everything. She woke up in the hospital, unable to feel her legs. The doctor's voice trembled as he explained the damage to her spine. Eleanor broke down, terrified of the future, terrified of being a burden. James visited once, only once. He walked in with the stiffness of a stranger, eyes cold, expression unreadable. Instead of comforting her, he sighed loudly, muttering about how her condition changed everything. His lack of compassion sliced deeper than the accident itself. From that moment, Eleanor realized a man she once loved had disappeared. 5 years later, Eleanor had adapted to life in a wheelchair, raising Amelia with surprising grace despite her challenges. She believed James had grown kindred with time, or at least more tolerant. She hoped Amelia's 5th birthday party would bring them together as a family. Instead, it became the day that shattered every illusion she held. When Eleanor struggled to move her wheelchair closer to the cake table, James snapped loudly, "For God's sake, Eleanor, stop acting like a crippled goat." Guests froze. Children stared. Eleanor felt the room spin as humiliation engulfed her. Amelia burst into tears. Sophie ran to comfort Eleanor, while James walked away as if nothing happened. It was the moment Eleanor's love finally died. Eleanor filed for divorce the next morning. She didn't argue, didn't scream, didn't beg for respect. She simply walked away emotionally. James signed the papers carelessly, more annoyed than hurt. He told her she was making a mistake, claiming she would never survive without him. Those words no longer shook her. In fact, they strengthened her resolve. With Sophie's help, Eleanor moved into a small flat in Manchester with Amelia. The space was smaller, cheaper, quieter, but it was theirs. No insults, no loneliness, no emotional warfare. For the first time in years, Eleanor breathed freely. She didn't know what the future held, but she knew it would not involve James Whitmore ever again. Free from his marriage, James felt unstoppable. He launched himself into London's nightlife, surrounded by women, champagne, and hollow praise. His affair with a socialite made headlines, turning him into the talk of the city. He thought he'd upgraded his life. But behind the scenes, everything was falling apart. His reckless spending, poor decisions, and constant scandals began to damage the hotel chain's reputation. Investors pulled away. His father, furious, cut him off financially. James's luxurious world started cracking around him, but he was too blinded by ego to notice the walls closing in. While James spiraled, Eleanor rose. Sophie enrolled her in a rehabilitation program with one of the best physiotherapists in the UK. The journey was slow, painful, filled with tears and setbacks, but Eleanor refused to give up. Every stretch, every attempt to stand, every fall was a step toward reclaiming her life. She began therapy for her emotional wounds as well. Through tears and honesty, she confronted the years of neglect, humiliation, and loss. The more she healed, the stronger she became. Little by little, Eleanor rediscovered her confidence. She realized she wasn't broken. She had been surviving on strength she didn't even know she possessed. Months of relentless therapy led to the moment Eleanor would never forget. Her first step. It was shaky, painful, and slow, but it was hers. Sophie cried uncontrollably, hugging her tightly. Amelia squealed proudly, calling her mother Superwoman. Eleanor smiled through tears, feeling reborn. That night, Eleanor stood in front of the mirror, not in a wheelchair, not as a victim, but as a fighter. She promised herself that the world would never see her as weak again. Her comeback would be louder than the silence she once endured. Determined to rebuild her life, Eleanor invested her savings into launching a high-end casino, the first woman-owned casino in Manchester. People mocked the idea first, but Eleanor's business instincts were sharp. Within months, the casino became a sensation, attracting celebrities, investors, and wealthy clients. She became a symbol of resilience and brilliance. The press called her the woman who rose from ashes. She smiled at the headlines, knowing this was only the beginning. Eleanor Brooks was no longer the humiliated wife of James Whitmore. She was a force, a survivor, and a woman who refused to stay broken. James's glamorous lifestyle collapsed faster than he expected. His affair ended abruptly when his mistress realized he was broke. His father officially removed him from the hotel's management team, leaving him jobless. Drink after drink, night after night, James sank deeper into shame. Once surrounded by luxury and admiration, he now lived in a rundown studio, struggling to pay rent. He tried blaming everyone but himself, his father, his friends, even Eleanor. But reality eventually slapped him. He had destroyed everything with his arrogance. For the first time in years, he felt alone, scared, and painfully aware of the life he had thrown away. Guilt over his daughter, Amelia, gnawed at him every time he saw her photo on his cracked phone screen. As James plummeted, Eleanor flourished. Her casino became the hottest venue in the region, and influential people began seeking her partnership. Through these connections, she met Maya Clark, a top financial strategist who admired Eleanor's courage. They quickly bonded over business and womanhood, becoming powerful allies. Maya introduced Eleanor to networks that expanded her casino empire. Eleanor learned more, earned more, and grew more confident. With every success, she silently healed pieces of herself that James once shattered. Her circle was now filled with people who valued her mind, her strength, and her story. She blossomed beautifully. Amelia, now 8 years old, thrived in her new life. She adored her mother's bravery and often told her teachers, "My mom is the strongest woman in the world." She adjusted quickly to their comfortable home, her school, and the warm women who surrounded her. Her innocence and joy became Eleanor's biggest motivation to keep pushing forward. Sophie and Maya also became influential figures in Amelia's life. They encouraged her talent for drawing, helped with homework, and filled the void of a father's presence with kindness and stability. Although Eleanor never badmouthed James, Amelia rarely asked about him. She felt safe in the world Eleanor had built. One cold evening, James finally admitted himself that he had lost everything that mattered. With trembling hands and a broken spirit, he searched online for Eleanor's business, stunned to discover she had become a celebrated entrepreneur. Guilt crushed him. Regret suffocated him. But for the first time, he wanted to make things right, even if she never took him back. He spent weeks practicing what he would say to her. He rehearsed apologies, imagined her reaction, and cried at night when he remembered his cruelty at Amelia's birthday. The shame was unbearable, but he knew the confrontation was inevitable. He needed closure, forgiveness, or at least a chance to explain himself. Eleanor bought a beautiful home overlooking Manchester's skyline. It symbolized everything she fought for: stability, peace, and success. She decorated the house with art, glass, and soft lighting, warm enough for Amelia, elegant enough for business guests. Every corner reflected a chapter of her rebirth. She often caught herself smiling at random moments, something she had forgotten how to do during her marriage. For the first time, she truly lived. She didn't need James, didn't miss him, and didn't fear him. She was finally free, emotionally and mentally. One Saturday morning, as Eleanor prepared breakfast with Amelia humming beside her, the doorbell rang. She opened the door and froze. There stood James, older, thinner, unshaven, and clearly broken. His eyes held desperation, regret, and exhaustion. He looked nothing like the arrogant man she once married. For a moment, Eleanor felt her heart tighten, not out of love, but out of shock. James quietly asked, "Eleanor, please, I just want to talk." She stepped back, unsure if she was ready. Amelia, curious, peeked from behind her mother. James's heart shattered at the sight of his daughter. She barely recognized him. Eleanor invited him in, but remained distant. James sat on the edge of the sofa, hands shaking, eyes filled with remorse. He apologized sincerely. No excuses, no arrogance, no pride. He admitted every mistake: the neglect, the humiliation, the affair, and how his downfall was his own doing. He begged for a chance to know Amelia, to make amends. Eleanor listened silently. For years, she imagined this moment, expecting satisfaction. Instead, she felt numb. The pain he caused was too deep, too permanent, too unforgettable. She told him politely but firmly that forgiveness did not mean restoration. The past was dead. Her life was better without him. James asked if he could return another day to see Amelia. Eleanor hesitated, then agreed on one condition: he must never disrupt their peace. James left the house with mixed emotions, grateful she didn't slam the door, heartbroken that she no longer loved him, and terrified of losing Amelia forever. Amelia, however, refused to see him. She told her mother, "He made you cry. I don't want him near us." Eleanor hugged her tightly, her heart aching. She didn't force Amelia. She simply whispered, "You're safe. I'm here. Always." That night, Eleanor realized James's return didn't shake her world. It only reminded her of how far she had come. James returned a week later, hoping Amelia had changed her mind. But when Eleanor opened the door, her expression said everything. "James," she said softly, "Amelia doesn't want this, and I won't force her." His eyes filled with tears. He knew then that he had truly lost the love of his family. Eleanor continued gently, "What you destroyed cannot be rebuilt. I wish you peace, but please don't come back." For a long moment, James stood frozen. Then, with a defeated nod, he stepped back and walked away. Eleanor watched him disappear, feeling no hate, no fear, no regret, only closure. Eleanor returned to her living room where Amelia and Sophie were waiting. They hugged her tightly, celebrating her strength and the peace she had reclaimed. She spent the evening laughing, cooking, dancing, and creating new memories. The shadows of the past were gone for good. Standing by her window later that night, Eleanor whispered a silent promise to herself: "My life will only move forward." With a thriving casino empire, loyal friends, a healed heart, and a bright future for Amelia, Eleanor embraced her new beginning with confidence. She had survived the storm. Now, she was living the sunshine. That's all for today. Like, subscribe, and see you in the next episode. Stay tuned.